morning, good afternoon. It's depend on where you are. Yeah. I'm Haibo Cheng from Bloomberg, based in Beijing, moderator for this panel on China financial market opening up. China has made tremendous progress on financial market development. Now China has one of the largest financial markets, specifically the second largest bond market with outstanding amount of 16 trillion US dollars.
Mr. Haibo, please
the second largest equity market with a market cap passing the mark of 10 trillion US dollars just last week to the historical high. And the largest commodity futures market in terms of trading volume, according to FIA Futures Industry Association. China has taken various measures to liberalize its financial market in recent years to allow international investors to access to this largely untapped market, including CIBM Direct, Bond Connect, Stock Connect, the updated QFII recently, the designated futures scheme, and etc. Yeah, I have to only name a few. We have seen clearly that international investors' interests and participation in China market has been growing very quickly. Major global benchmark indices have been including China securities. For example, bond into Bloomberg Barclays Global Aggregate Index and equities into MSCI Emerging Market Index. These are strong testaments for China's success to opening up its financial market. China Foreign Exchange Trading System, (FIFEX), the trading value for the bank market has extended its trading time in September last month to accommodate European investors' trading. Based on the yield spread and the low correlation with other markets, I believe China market is a must-to-have exposure for European investors' portfolio. For example, today, the 10-year German Treasury bond is minus 0.6%, while in China, it's 3.2%. Meanwhile, China has lifted restrictions on financial industry. BlackRock was granted approval to set up a wholly owned mutual fund management firm in China. In August, UBS, Credit Suisse have got a green light to be the controlling shareholders of the investment banks in China. So the financial market opening up has presented unprecedented opportunities for both China and international institutions. Today, we are delighted to have 4 distinguished guests here to discuss this topic. We have 2 guests from China. Mr. Wang Fenghai, CEO of Shanghai Futures Exchange. Mr. Luo Xufeng, Chairman of Nanhua Futures. And 2 from Germany, Mr. Werner Stimmler, Senior Advisor to Deutsche Bank. And Michelle Benzler, CEO of Hofhauser. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. Given the diversity of the audience, I'd like to invite 4 guests to give a brief introduction. 3 minutes for each. Yeah, we will use both Chinese and English. Yeah, let's start from Mr. Michel Bentler. Thank you.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Michael Bentlager. I'm the CEO of HNA. And HNA is a private bank for 220 years, doing services all around wealth, private banking, investment banking, asset management, and asset servicing, which is a city business. Since 2016, when Volkswagen took over, we have a lot of experience with China, with the country, with the people, and with the culture. I think given the power and size of the country, it's obvious that the following generations will interact much more with China than we did in the past. China will be #1 in terms of economic power in the future. So that will have an impact on the global capital market and the behavior of all capital market participants. And I think we will discuss this today. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Mr. Luo Xufeng. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Luo.
I speak in Chinese. China as the second biggest economic power in the world. And with an ongoing globalization, the level of which is always getting higher. And also, structurally, the laws and everything are continually being updated and reformed. The policies are being liberated, are being made more open. So many international investors have been attuned to this and have been interested in this development. Financial market, the capital market of China within the global international context is more and more attractive for international investors. So I think there are mainly 3 things that are important with this. Okay. So first of all, the Chinese economy will continue to be stable, and the reform will be ever more deeper. And we can see that from the development in the 3rd quarter of this year, of course. The first 3 quarters, there was 0 point something of growth. And since the pandemic in the whole world, that even in this situation, you can have some growth. This is quite extraordinary and quite a good development, of course. Okay. So, during the global development of the pandemic, that China could realize a GDP growth is very remarkable and can tell us that the Chinese economy is going back to normal. At the same time, if you compare other capital markets worldwide.
2020年，中国资本市
In
场表现较为
2020, the
稳定。
capital market in China was relatively stable.
以沪深300指数为例，
And
上周五沪深300指数收在
last
4791.08点，
Friday, the indices, the index of the Shanghai Stock Exchange, as you know, has arrived at 300.
截止这个周末的这个涨幅呢，
And
就是2020
after
年的
this weekend,
涨幅达到了 16.97， 表现良好。
we had a rise of 16.97, a growth of 16.97. So in my country,
经济形势向好的发展，很
the
大程度
relative
提
good
高了境外
development of the
在
economy
中国配置资产的兴趣。
is
随着9月
attracting a lot
底
of
经国务院
interest. After the end of
中
September,
国证监会、
after
中国人民
the
银行、
decision of
国家外管
the central bank
发布了
and central bank in China,
发布了合格境外机构投资者和人民币合格境外机构投资者
there was
境内证券期货
an
投资管理办
information,
法。
there was a new regulation stipulated for foreign investors into the Chinese capital market.
QFII 和 RQFII 新规及配套规则
The
将至今
QFII
年
and
11月
AQFII,
正式执行。
this was a new order of the whole system that was stipulated in that regulation.
新规取消了外资进入的额度
So
限制，
basically, what it did was it abolished the quotas for foreign investment into China. There used to be a
是
quota,
中国
so
资本市
this
场
was
对
scrapped.
外开放的
So the
重要体
capital
现。
market has thereby abolished one important hindrance, one important block that was blocking the entry to the
总
capital
我
market.
不好意思打扰您一下，因为我们只有1个小时。
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but everybody has only a few minutes, and later on we will come back to you. So now we go to the next person.
那个我尽可能节俭一下啊。
Okay, I
这个
want
在
to shorten what I want to say, but I need to come to an end.
对中国投资意愿比较强的背景下，金融期
If you look
更是对
at
境外投资者有着非常强大的吸引力。
background of the whole investment situation in China, we can say that it's become much more attractive for foreign investors.
这个第二呢，就是中国期货市场在全球的定价体
And
系
also,
中地位呢显著提高。
The futures market is quite interesting also in China for foreign investors.
第三呢，中国期货市场具有非常高的流动性。
Also, it's very mobile. The futures market in China has a lot of fluctuation.
所以从这些这个咱们的这个情况来看的话呢，中国期货市场的
If you look at
引
this,
力主要体现在中国整体向好的
The
发展的经济形势。
future market, of course, reflects the whole economic situation in the whole of China, as described by me before.
以及在国际大宗贸易定价体系当中的
And
地位提升，
In the whole
以及
system of global trade and commerce,
中国期货市场的非常高的流动性。
the Chinese futures market is characterized by this very high fluctuation, as I just mentioned. This is a
这个流动
specialty.
性，
This
其实
fluctuation,
从 FI 的统计数据就可以看出来。
you can see from
今年
the
上半年
FOI
全球交易
statistics.
所成交量排名当中，大连商品交易所、上海期
For
货交易
instance,
所、
Dalian
商品
futures market or Shanghai futures market, they all
分
had
别排在 第10到12位。
They were at the 4th and 5th place in the whole of the world.
中金所排在第26位。
Altogether, they were number 26 worldwide.
相信伴随着中国期货市场的进一步的对外开放，
I believe that the future opening of the futures market in China to the outside
越
world
来越多的境外投资者
will
参与到
attract
国内。
more and more foreign investors to come into China to take part in the futures market.
好，这个我先说这些吧。
Okay, I am
Okay.
at the end. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Yeah, we will hand over to Mr. Wang Weidong.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. And one thing is clear. China is a fast-growing economy. And the question, in my opinion, is when it will be the number one. It was a lot of said already by Dr. Wimmer, by Mr. Zheng, and everyone, how the liberalization happened in China on the capital market side. But one thing is clear. If you are a successful economy, you need also successful capital markets. And I don't want to repeat all of these big numbers, but one thing for me is very important. A society needs also more sophisticated products. 500 people went from poor to the so-called Mittelstand. And they need pension, asset management, wealth management. The demand is really high. And I think this was, in my opinion, the reason the Chinese government opened it. And I could follow the last 4 years from Hong Kong, these developments, surprisingly, much faster what I expected. And now companies can have 100% investment bank dealer broker license operating in China. These are the positive news. When we look to the facts, it will take time. The foreign joint ventures, up to 30%, 50% allowed, only have a market share of 3% of the capital market in China. This is with a bond, with equity, with securities. This has to increase. And I think also the government wants to see much more of these development happening. The fundamentals of China are right. As I mentioned before, the growth is happening. Presumably, China will be the only country with a positive GDP growth at year end. And I think this is a big achievement. But the government is also recognizing more and more internationalization is needed, and they are opening, for example, on the asset management side to cooperate with major banks. The Chinese market is also not very sophisticated. We have roundabout 70 to 80% institutional investors, maybe even more. China is the opposite. It's still 80% retail. For retail, you need a different distribution system. When you're missing the institutional markets, you have higher volatility, as mentioned before, in this market. So this is what has to shift from retail to more institutional-driven market. And the last thing what is needed, and I will finish my short introduction, opening of a renminbi. However, this cannot be happen soon because of government and how we manage the economy. But in my opinion, next 5 or 10 years, only when the renminbi is freely convertible in the mainland, in China, I see a major development in the market. However, Hong Kong is still there, and you can go Bond Connect, Stock Connect, all the things I mentioned to do a lot of this transaction out of Hong Kong. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, last year, but we will have the most important guest, Mr. Wang Fenghai, CEO of Shanghai Futures Exchange. 谢谢王总。
好，女士们、先生们，大家上午好。
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you. I'm very happy to take part in this conference.
大家做一个介绍。
I would like to explain about the Shanghai Exchange.
和致力于境外投资者提供更多的风险管理方面呢，应该说还是有很大的进步。
We have a lot of experience with foreign investors and foreign other companies and other countries, the cooperation.
目前上期所呢和这个下属子公司，就是上期国际能源交易中心，就是 INE
We have the AIE also collaborating with us. So since 2 years, we are also working with the oil futures. So we have been upgraded in many regards. We can work more. So since joining the WTO, we have also experienced a growth of our activities. In the last year, we had quite big numbers of transactions conducted through our exchange. So it has increased 8-fold, and we are collaborating with more than 20 countries all over the world. In the first part of this year, there were more than 1 million transactions. And there were oil futures. We also collaborated with Qatar and other countries producing oil. So the companies from outside and inside of China have been very active, working through our exchange. So Singapore and Thailand also are important partners. And we have now the third international product that we can offer, an oil future at our exchange. We have introduced that just 1 month ago. Just can't hear him very good. So, on the whole, we can say it is also very economical for foreign investors to take part in the futures market in China. This is the experience of our exchange. And we can see that, for instance, mostly through the increase of transactions. So we had an 8-fold increase, and many other countries who are interested in taking part and working in our exchange. So there are more and more investors who come to Shanghai who want to work at our exchange with raw oil and other oil futures. And the market for Shanghai for energy is already very big and is getting bigger all the time. Within Asia, we are one of the biggest already. And also, we have now more and more people from overseas, companies from overseas, who want to do transactions at our exchange. Okay, this was an introduction of what we do. Thank you.
After the introduction remarks, let's go to the discussion part. Yeah, I want to first to echo Mr. Stammler's statement. Yeah, we can clearly see China has liberalized its capital market recently with a lot of success. And international firms have also increased their investment in China. Recently, there is a big news. Vanguard, the largest asset manager, moved their regional headquarters to Shanghai and shut down Japan and the Hong Kong office. It's big news for us. So we are wondering what's great if you can elaborate your view on China's capital market opening up, and have your clients participated in China financial market and their feedback? Thank you, similar.
Journey has to continue, as I mentioned before. And also, let's face it, it is a regulated market. And this is very important. We work with the regulators. You heard Dr. Wimmer. For the Germans, I can give advice, work with the Ministry of Finance. They're extremely supportive. And I give you one example. One of the visits of a chancellor, they gave Deutsche Bank the A license for local renminbi bonds. And I think this was a big success. And it took us a while to install off because also to be open, the license came to a surprise. But now we have a constant flow of issuing bonds in the local market. I think this is one of the signals China is giving. Asset management. 200 of these special regulated asset managers opened already in China. Predominantly in Shanghai because this is the center of a financial industry. But it is also very important to work with existing. Deutsche is with Harvest, the fourth largest asset manager. We own 30%, work very cooperative. But now I think in the next level, you need retail distributions. We don't have, and no international bank, maybe even a little bit HSBC and Standard Chartered. But now we need distribution. Distribution is with cooperation. The Chinese government is opening for asset management. We selected a handful of banks who can cooperate with international banks to help them to create asset management joint ventures, using the expertise of international banks to strengthening the market. Because one thing is clear, with more wealth generated in China, I mentioned before, you need sophisticated products for the mass retail and retail distribution. I think through this cooperation with large banks and international banks, the progress of capital markets, and you need investors, is progressing, and the institutional investors will follow when the market is more opening. But I mentioned before, Stock Connect also to Frankfurt Deutsche Börse is very good in all these things, helping to make it more international. If someone is not invested in China going forward, he has a big problem in his portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Balz. Yeah, we all know you have investment from China. Yeah, your perspective is highly appreciated. Yeah, great to hear that.
So was it for me the question or? Bandlage. We can't hear him.
Mr. Bandlage, you need to unmute your microphone, please.
For Mr. Bandlage.
Mr. Bandlage, if you can hear me, you need to unmute your microphone on your computer, please.
You are unmuted. Yeah.
Mr. Bandlage, can you hear me? You're still on mute. You need to unmute your microphone on your device, please.
Mr. Bandlage, can you hear us? Okay, maybe we can move to our Chinese guests first. Yeah. Mr. Wang Fenghai, yeah, Shanghai Futures Exchange has taken the lead to open up the commodity futures market in 2018, allow international investors to trade. Great to know the current situation and feedback from global investors. 王总，我们很想知道上海期货交易所现在开放的进展以及境外投资者这些反馈。谢谢。
好的，主持人。
Okay.
目前呢，中国资本市场的这个已经成为全球是第二大的市场。
We are already the second biggest market And since the opening up, there is a deepening.
Sorry, I didn't realize.
Now we have Bentlage.
Maybe it's okay that I start.
So, okay, we have.
Okay, Mr. Balz, we will hand over the floor to you later. Yeah, when Ms. Wang finishes the question. Thank you.
So, what we do is getting bigger all the time, and also what we can do is being enlarged through regulations and new laws. This process is also accelerating in itself. So we have more and more different products internationally. So, as I said, we have raw oil, we have minerals, and other, altogether 5 different international products that are traded in Shanghai. Commodities exchange. So our clients have also increased, and our international impact has gone along with that. And also now the quotas for investment size have been scrapped. This has also resulted in an increase of transactions. So we therefore want to give better service also to our foreign investors. We are also serving Hong Kong, the ITS exchange, and the Singapore exchange as and the QCCP with Europe, that exchange platform, we also serve them. So now we are also included in the validation setup, and our information is internationally distributed according to international regulations, so we avail all our customers with this information. And I'm continuing to increase the proportion of foreign investors. And as I said, there's no longer a limit on them. So therefore, the Chinese market is very attractive for foreign investors and is also getting more attractive for China investors. The service ability is not fully evolved yet. We have to still adapt parts of our services so that we can better serve our clients. For instance, the clearing and the payment features. So we believe that we have the capabilities to efficiently increase our services so that we have professional traders and others that can trade in our exchange. So we have developed a highly efficient channel for these kind of transactions. So collectively, we also do other events and projects to promote our services. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wang. Yeah, let's go to the Nanhua Futures Chairman, Mr. Luo. Yeah, great if you can share your view from the futures firm's perspective on the opening up of China market and your clients' feedback on the opening up. Thank you. 也希望您从期货公司的角度讲一讲中国期货市场开放以及国际投资者的反馈。谢谢您，罗总。您也静音了，能不能打开话筒 ？It's great。
好，那个谢谢主持人。
Well,
那个南华呢是
南华
去年8月份我们在中国期货市场上市了。
has come to the market last August. In last August, we were listed. Since last August, we were listed in the Chinese market.
我们在这个国际化方面呢，也做了一
As
些
to
探索。
internationalization, we have thought about this and done some research.
那目前公司在境外，这个
Right
已经
now,
完成了
outside of
中
China,
国香港、
we have
美国
Hong
芝加
Kong
哥、
and
新加坡、
Chicago,
英国伦敦
London,
4大
Singapore,
一个布局。
in these 4 big
当地
places.
的自开机构。那么我们也同时在全球16个交易所成为了会员。
At the same time, at 16 other exchanges all over the world, we have some activities.
并且我们已经取得了12个交易所的清算席位。
And we already got the approval of 12 other exchanges.
目前这个在国际业务方面，我们能够覆
And
盖
as
亚洲、北美和欧洲
to
3大时区。
international activities, we can be active all over Asia and Asia Pacific.
具备了这个期货、证券、资管、外汇和 OTC 等业
So
务
we
牌照。
do OTCs, we do bonds, we do futures, all these products and shares, of course. So we obtained the license from all those places.
那么在开展国际业务的过程当中
So in the
应该
process of
说这
opening our international
具备了
activities,
相应的条件。
in order to have equivalent conditions,
可能也存在着一些困难啊。这
there,
个
of
这
course,
些
we have
困难
also
呢
encountered a few difficulties, and those were
境
mostly
外业务发展与满足当地的监管要求
that we had
之间
to
所应付的
fulfill
资金的
the
压力。
local supervisors, especially with regards to the claims to how much capital we needed. The capital, so we had a certain capital pressure that we felt.
那么这一方面的话呢，我想这个因为
And I
在
believe
座嘉宾有银行。
That everybody, the experts that we have here today, they come from banks and so on.
所以我们想就是这看看在外资银行
We
这
would
块
like to
能否
understand, can foreign capitalized banks
能否为中资机构啊在境
For
外融资啊提供一定的方便？
give us some accommodation, can give us some help with the capital requirements? Well, can they give us some loans, basically? It means financing us in order to satisfy the supervisors in those countries.
这个一方面呢是就是最近 QF 跟 RQF 新规的推出啊，允许海外的
QVIC and IVIC
境外
said
投资者
that overseas investors can come with their products.
金融期货这个以及投资境内的私募基金啊，那么接下来的
And
话
with
呢，
their
中国
funds.
的政策
And
将会
Chinese policies will, in the future, also start opening even more
公募基金和不动产信托基金
in order to accommodate some private equity funded companies. For instance, we hear very often from the rates, for instance, from rating agencies. Okay, ETFs, it's in index traded things, ETFs, of course, yeah. We hope that banks taking part in these discussions can have more cooperation with us, with companies like ourselves in the future. And I think SANEX can also SANEX can also give us some services and help. Well, this is all I want to say at this point.
Yeah, let's go back to Mr. Balz. Thank you. Great. Yeah, great to have your views on the China financial market opening up, especially maybe the funding needs from Mr. Luo's and other opportunities probably between China firm and the international firm like your firm. Thank you.
Yes, I want to talk a little bit about the perspective from the European or German private client investing into China. Of course, our clients do invest in China, but given the market capitalization, it's still very, very low. The question is why? And I think the answer is twofold. First one is it's still not easy to invest, for example, directly into A shares. Of course, the big tech companies have a listing in other stock exchanges. It's easy to invest. But if they want to go on smaller companies, for example, and want to invest directly into China, it's difficult. You have to go through a bank which has a quota to invest, and that would come at a cost. So transaction costs are clearly higher than in comparable markets. This is one thing. The second is the overall outlook. And I want to take a look first into the past before I come. If you look in the past for the last 10 years, for the performance of the Shanghai Stock Exchange and compare to the German DAX or to the US Standard & Poor's 500, you will recognize that over the whole 10-year period, the Chinese stock market is more or less on the same level like 10 years ago. The German DAX doubled, and the Poor's 500 even more than doubled. So from looking into the past, it was better today, and I talk always about the complete market, not about single stocks. So, but as ETFs get more and more popular, people like to invest in ETFs into the complete market. So there is not, when you look into the past, not a big incentive to go to China. But I think given the situation, if you look into the future, things I will expect will change. If you look on this year's performance in terms of economy, I think China will be the only big country which will come out with a growth rate for the GDP. All Europeans and American countries will suffer. China obviously is managing the crisis better than the Western world. And I want to give you some numbers. For example, China is responsible for more than 40% of worldwide e-commerce transactions. China has 10 times more mobile payments than the United States. And China developed as much unicorns as the United States. So that gives you an idea where the direction is going. And another number is the number of patents worldwide. China is leading ahead of the US, and I think it's 3 times more than Europe altogether. So from our perspective, China is clearly on a way to an innovative country. And normally, under normal circumstances, under normal capital market conditions, that should boost the equity market. And that is the reason why we as a company are in the beginning setting up an asset management company in China. We want to have portfolio managers, experts directly in China. We want to set up China funds because we believe in the future of China that that will be the market. We have to invest in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, this year we have faced a lot of difficulties and uncertainties like coronavirus, the US election, Brexit in EU, a lot of problems. Yeah, we have seen a very volatile market. So in recent, we also see the negative oil price. Yeah, China handled this very well. So we want to, Mr. Wang, to share your experience to address the market volatility. 王总，请你介绍一下我们在应对今年这个疫情波动方面的经验。
好的，好的。今年上半年以来吧，
Okay, first part of this year, we of course were affected by the situation in the whole world. There was still some need for our services, but we were impacted quite heavily. And the oil price became a negative price. This was, of course, a very important development for us. And how to manage these risks was, of course, an important thing. And we at the Shanghai Exchange also try to handle this, to manage this. On the whole, I can say the volatility was less than in other markets worldwide. And now we have still a twofold increase in the volatility as compared to before in our markets. And since the pandemic, the prices have been very volatile, much more than before. So also the increase in the premiums for insurance, of course, have been noted because the risk. And through this higher volatility, we have also several times told our customers that they have to monitor the risk and have to look at the risk, so in order that they can better handle the volatility. So we warned them, we issued warnings. So according to the raw oil handling, we believe has been tested by this crisis, but has come out quite well, the way we did it. Thank you.
好，谢谢王总。Yeah, we have very limited time for us. So the last question grateful to German friends. I think great if you can give China government exchanges financial infrastructures advice how to increase China financial markets international participation. Thank you. Mr. Bantlar, you first. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe some comments on the regulatory part. I think which could be improved. We heard from David Newell before that some steps in the opening up of the market has undergone, but I think there's still a way to go. We experienced that when we talked to the regulators. I think it could be more simplified and more streamlined approval processes, application procedures, while making regulatory requirements more transparent and consistent, and reducing the complexity for the market entry. So this is my first remark. The second is I would encourage the Chinese companies and financial institutions more to go abroad and to get experience in the foreign countries, get experience with foreign similar companies, with joint ventures, for example, to get more information about the Western regulation, about Western laws and the market rules, foreign financial market. If Chinese companies and financial institutions go this way, I think there comes a much better mutual understanding when they exchange each other. And the last comment is organize more bilateral events between China and other Western countries to exchange their market experience and also their success stories. I think more interaction between all participants will help. And this event we are here in today certainly helps with that.
Yeah. Mr. Schemler, yeah, great to have your insights from your extensive experience in emerging markets. Thank you.
Yeah, when you invest in China, it takes time. Don't expect for quick wins. I think this is one of the principles. Look more in years instead of quarter to quarter. Every time I had to present investment cases to the board, it was very clear. Please have a long-term view, at least 3 to 5 years. Everything what you expect in 1 or 2 years doesn't work. What also doesn't work, go in and out. In China, when you go out, out is forever, because you never get a second chance from the regulator. This is some of the key principles. Next one is have a combination with strong local staff who is well connected with international staff who both bring the ideas together and work together to the success. A lot of experience, positive, I had transferring people from Hong Kong, which is part of China, also to remember the colleagues, to Shanghai, in order to accelerate and they speak the Mandarin local language going forward. I think this is some of the key messages if you want to investment. But the last sentence, do it now. Maybe in 2 or 3 years be too late. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's really a challenge for us to have a virtual event with 2 languages. Yeah, now China, I can see, is the safest place for us to live and travel. I hope next time we can have a face-to-face discussion the engagement. As the benchmark shared with us, we need more communication between China and the rest of the world. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for joining the session. Yeah, looking forward to have another session with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.